the most important thing, I think, in my opinion, is when I go out on the pitch is I want to do everything in my power to win the game. And I feel like with the way I present myself towards, obviously, the opponent, but obviously definitely towards my own team, is very important. So obviously when I'm hectic and stressing and running around and looking all chaotic, I think it doesn't help the team whatsoever in order to be successful. And if you have everything under control and show that as well, I think it will, benefit the team. So that's definitely something I've worked on and try to take into every game. And don't make it like you are too overconfident, but you have to make sure that you are the boss and do it by example in the way you do it. And I try to definitely do that.
Do you know what it takes to be one of the very best center backs in the world? That's the question we're here to explore. This is the Whoop Podcast. I'm your host, Will Ahmed, founder and CEO of Whoop. We're on a mission to unlock human performance. My guest today is the sensational, the stoic, the relentless Virgil van Dijk. Virgil is the captain of Premier League's Liverpool, as well as captain of the Dutch national team. He's widely considered one of the best defenders in the world. We talk about his upbringing and his career, some of his highlights, some of the transitions he's made to different clubs on that journey. We talk about his training and his performance. We go into his Whoop data. What are some of his tips and techniques to performing at the very best? And then we get into a little bit of a rapid fire session. That's this conversation right now with Virgil van Dijk.
Virgil, welcome to the Whoop Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So has this always been the dream? Global superstar, footballer?
Well, definitely being a professional football player has always been the dream since I was very young, but obviously what I've achieved up until now has didn't cross my mind when I was that young. So, but obviously it makes it even more beautiful and sweeter than ever, I think.
You started playing when you were 6 years old?
Yeah, I started playing when I was 6 years old. Played at a local club for like 2 years, then I got into the academy of a club called Willem FC. And that's where my journey started. I was in the academy for 10 years, and it was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and obviously challenging with going into puberty as well, and the usual things what kids go through. And but it was definitely a good start.
And you had your growth spurt late.
Yeah. So I was when I was 16. During the summer, I had a big growth spurt of a lot of centimeters, and before the summer I was actually a bit shorter than my little brother, who was 2 years younger than me. And after the summer, 3 months later, I was taller than him again. So it was a good growth spurt that I really needed.
You're tall, man. I mean, I'm pretty tall, but like in person, you're tall, and even more so than you look on television, which is saying something, because you obviously have this huge, commanding presence in your play. Mm. At that younger age, when you were smaller, were you playing defense then too?
Yeah, I was always a defender. Obviously not as tall. I was a normal young kid that trying to be playing and starting each and every game. That wasn't always the case, to be honest. I wasn't seen as a big talent whatsoever. I was a player that, played now and then. And obviously, when I got my growth spurt, I had a little bit of physical issues with my groin and my knees and what comes with it. But after that, I became taller and more of a presence and the captain of the team as well.
Did you always know you were going to pursue defense? Like you never thought about playing up?
No, obviously, like when I was young, I always played outside on the streets. And I think when you play outside on the streets and with your friends, I think the nice thing is to always score goals. And that's what I tried to do. I did a lot of tricks. I looked up to Ronaldinho a lot. And what he did, playing with a smile, the different tricks and stuff he did, and looked up to and tried to replicate it on the courts, and that was something I really looked at. But going into competitive football was always trying to make sure the ball stay out of our goals, and that was something I really enjoyed.
You said you liked Ronaldinho's smile, so there was something about the demeanor with which he played football that you liked.
100%, yeah. I think we are very privileged, and obviously now I know on the highest level we are very blessed, lucky, and to keep enjoying what you're doing is not always easy. You could, I won't say take things for granted easily, but you could think that things are normal, but they aren't. And for me personally, thinking about it now, to see him smiling, enjoying the game, that's really, really important. And I try to remind myself that as well. It's not always easy, but it's very important to really appreciate what we doing, what I do, and that my dreams came true and even beyond that.
I can tell from watching you that you are very happy and proud to be there, but I feel like the adjective that comes most to mind is you're very calm. Has it always been like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the most important thing, I think, in my opinion, is when I go out on the pitches, I want to do everything in my power to win the game. And I feel like with the way I present myself towards, obviously, the opponent, but obviously definitely towards my own team, is very important. So obviously when I'm hectic and stressing and running around and looking all chaotic, I think it doesn't help the team whatsoever in order to be successful. And if you have everything under control and show that as well, I think it will, benefit the team, and also put a little bit of, and not, I won't say fear in the opponent, but it will obviously discourage maybe the opponent as well. So that's definitely something I've worked on and try to take into every game, and don't make it like you are too overconfident, but you have to make sure that you are the boss and do it by example in the way you do it, and I try to definitely do that.
Have you practiced that in any way? Are there certain things that you've done to remain more calm? Do you do any visualization, meditation?
I do. I speak with someone before the games, the day before a game, and that helps me a lot. And other than that, I do my own, programs before, in terms of getting in the sauna, the ice bath, obviously stretching. We do yoga sessions at the club. So there's a lot of things that helps me. But I think what helps me the most is my family and my wife, my kids. They're the ones that keep me very grounded and calm, and put a lot of perspective on the life I live.
The person that you speak to before games, what is that conversation like? What's that person's background?
I won't say it's a psychologist, because I don't think he would like to be called like that at all. I won't put a name on it. I think that's not correct, but it's someone that we speak about how the preparation has been going towards the game. How am I feeling? How am I feeling towards the game? Are there any issues that we can solve in terms of different exercises that could, come along?
Will you ever say like, gosh, I feel kind of run down right now, or I feel tired, or, I'm nervous, or?
Well, nervous, not anymore, but excited. Sometimes you can be overexcited, and then you have to try and find the right balance in order to not be, wanted it too much, so you make mistakes, or you do things in a rush way. So you have to find that right balance, and I think I'm always open, and I would tell him obviously how I feel. It's like how you feel in terms of, are you a little bit, too active, and calm it down a little bit, or if you're too calm to get your body and mind more ready for it.
Is there anything specifically you'll do? Let's say you're too amped up. What would you do to kind of bring yourself down a little bit?
Breathing exercises are very important. Yeah, breathing exercises. Obviously, those, I think that is definitely one of the major ones that we done put into place, and I really feel like it's helpful. But overall, I'm quite well balanced, and we don't need too much exercises. But when it's needed, we definitely put it in play.
I think a lot of sort of casual fans underestimate the degree to which professional athletes use breathing techniques to get themselves in the right spot. Do you find that that's become more common across the sport?
Yeah, because obviously, like we are here, obviously speaking about it a lot more. I think a lot of people are opening up about it, and I think that's creating others to also start doing it and feel the benefits of it. And I would say also, like years ago, I wouldn't think about personally doing it, but I really feel like there is a benefit in calming down, or getting ready to rock and roll. And I think it's a good way, and it's a nice way to get going, or do it for you in the best way, shape or form.
You've assumed really a leadership position for a lot of the teams that you play on. Captain of the Netherlands, captain of Liverpool. What does that role mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a lot. Obviously, that responsibility, I think, is something I really enjoy. It's for me personally to be the captain of Liverpool Football Club, the captain of Holland. Is something that every young footballer, in my opinion, would love to be at, and I really embrace it, even the difficult moments, because there are plenty of difficult moments where you have to be the one that, getting your team up, or helping players personally, or do things outside of the game that you have to sort as a captain. And these things are also something that I really embrace, and it's not always easy, but that responsibility is really really a good feeling.
What do you think was the moment in your career where you felt the most pressure on yourself?
I think the year after I came back from my knee injury. I think people don't really realize what it takes to be coming back from an ACL, MCL, complex knee injury. Obviously, the standards that are set by me in the past were obviously I was still hold by, and that's a difficult part, because you're also gonna do that yourself in so many ways. But obviously, you have to adapt. You have to get used to your knee, your new knee. You will have some issues along the way with different muscles around your leg or other leg, so you have to get things going. So when things are not going as well on the pitch, you might think about it a lot in your head. Why not? Or how can I get better as soon as possible? Or what can I do to be even better than I was before? So, and I'm a guy as well that I want to be having my best game each and every game that I play. So my expectation level, not only from the outside world, but for myself, is maybe even higher than from the outside world. So especially that year when I came back was tough. But it brought me also a lot of positive things, especially in that year. And I think I was in the top 3 playing the most games of all players in Europe. I think we were playing for a quadruple, I think, if I'm correct, or a treble. Obviously, we couldn't do it, but we won 2 trophies that year, if I'm correct. So I had a pretty good year, but it was still a very, very intense year in terms of coming back from the injury, expectations level, and dealing obviously with certain problems towards on my whole body in terms of getting used to the knee.
That period where you were out, did you have any sort of self-discovery about your own body or your training or your approach to the sport? I mean, I've spoken to a lot of professional athletes, I feel like, who they never wanted to get injured, but then they got injured, and that process for them actually helped them find something.
Yeah, no, listen, I think, the moment I got injured, it was a very tough 2-3 weeks. Obviously, going through the surgery, going through sleepless nights, pain. But what kept me very strong is to have my wife and my kids there. And we decided to go to Dubai. Trained obviously at NAS with all the help from the family over there.
It's a good spot to train.
It's a very good spot to train, and I really looked after. And we were there for 7 weeks, and it was probably the best time of our lives. Being together with my wife, with the kids. Obviously, it was lockdown around the world as well, so there wasn't many things to do anyway around the world. But Dubai was amazing for us, and we got close together. I trained every day, double sessions. Had my own physio there, who was obviously treating me a lot of hours a day. But during that time, we came, very close. We had a very, very good time, and that helped me also getting as strong as I am today in terms of the, in the knee or the rest of the body. And I think what I discovered about myself is that what I've been doing before my injury in terms of maintaining strength, what do I do personally in terms of recovery after games, I think I didn't do as much as I should have done. And not that it caused me an injury, but I think there's a lot of things that I realized during that time that I could do more, and that helped me a lot.
What does that include today from a recovery standpoint?
A lot. So obviously, a normal game would obviously, you play the game, you have a strain of 20, something like that, you go home. I normally go into the pool, do exercise in the pool, go in the sauna, then go in the ice bath, and that's all after the game. So it could also be midnight, even in the early morning, and then the next day we normally coming in the training ground and we do the recovery session all together, and I'll be home around lunchtime or just after that, and then the evening will exactly be the same as then the evening before. So
it's a grind.
It's a grind, but it helps me, and because it helps, it makes it also a lot easier to, keep doing it, and you feel the benefits of it. And I want to, because it helps, and I want to keep doing it.
Well, you've been on Whoop since January of 2022, so you've shared some data with us here. You're a good sleeper, right? Sleep performance, 88% on average. Your sleep consistency, 73%, which is good for someone who travels a lot. Your sleep efficiency is 90%. So 90% of the time you're spending in bed, you're getting sleep.
I'm a very good sleeper, yeah, I would say that.
Has it always been that way?
Yeah, I'm quite a deep sleeper as well. As an example, like I don't even hear my kids sometimes when they're shouting or when they doing certain things in the bedroom, and I'm still in bed, so I can sleep quite deep. What I changed over the last couple of months actually is that I don't take a long nap anymore during the day, and that helps me obviously sleep better at night.
Right.
So I'm in that period now where around 3 or 4 o'clock I'm starting to
you get a little sleepy,
dip down. So I try to be busy and keep doing other things, but I really feel the benefits of not having that needing that nap. Obviously, I won't force it that much because somebody told me actually if you sleep less than 4 hours during the night, you should try and get a nap. And sometimes obviously this happens when you travel late or when you after a game normally, so the adrenaline keeps you awake still and you don't get the hours in that you want to, and then I would get a nap. But other than that, I try to just get at least 8 hours sleep during the night and just have a good day and do the same again.
What are your tips for beating jet lag or travel?
When we travel with the team, we try to stay on a different time. And I feel like that helps. So even in Europe, sometimes we only have an hour difference, but we stay on the UK time most of the time. But we did the same when we went on training camp to even Singapore and the US, and not that we stay on the UK time, but we stay on a different time that the difference is not as big. And I really feel like that definitely helps.
Will you ever take any supplements or anything like that?
I did in the past. I don't know. Back then, I also thought that it gives me crazy dreams. So I don't know if that's something that maybe happens once or twice, and that I thought about that the medication would be the case. But I tried to stay off it. I think the last time I took some sleeping medication was during my knee injury, where obviously I couldn't sleep longer than 2 hours because of the pain. So I tried to take tablets for that, but tried to get a best sleep cycle in order to be to having a good night.
Your strain during games is quite high, 19 or 20, and your max heart rate gets up to about 175.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that when you're out there, or you're just so used to the intensity of it?
I'm quite consistent in the strain during games, but yeah, I think it's absolutely normal. I think I have moments in games where my heart rate will go very high, and especially when I'm doing long sprints or making recovery runs, and but it's absolutely fine. I think during training days, I make strains of 14, 15, I think, something like that. So it's been a good balance, and it works out pretty well.
One observation I've been watching you play is that if a player's got the ball and it's almost like a one-on-one situation, it feels like you almost try to give them a step so that they won't go behind you. Like you've got this interesting stillness.
Yeah.
And then if they take the bait, so to speak, you have that like really explosive first step. Is that something you're consciously doing, or is it just natural?
No, I think the thing is, when you're getting in a 1v1, I think the opponent would love you to give them the decision. So if you step in, they can do whatever they want. If you wait and you hold and you set a trap in then obviously when you set a trap, you make sure you have to get them. But you also give time for others to come back to help, or to make the decision even more difficult for him to make. And it's just moments. It's all split seconds. So sometimes you have a player who is completely right-footed, so he's not going to want to go to his left foot, or the other way around. So it's like during that split second, obviously who you're facing, and it's all like very quick, but you conscious of it. And I think you try not to be first and foremost to be in a 1v1 situation. I think you try to read the situation beforehand to prevent it, and I think that's the best thing, in my opinion, to do. You don't want to be in any situations, basically, so you try to prevent it from happening regardless. But if you're in a situation, you have to try and deal with that in the best way you can.
Yeah, it's fascinating because the game looks like it's going really fast, but then there's these moments where you're staring at someone with the ball, and it actually looks like you're going slowly, and then you pounce.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it's kind of amazing to watch.
But that's the thing as well. Obviously, like you said, even if I look back at certain situations, whether it is on, I don't know, TV or iPad or whatever we watch it, it goes fast. But in the situation when it actually happens, it's in slow-mo. And, obviously your mind goes in so many ways. But because I know the game, I know my opponents, it's like sort of what could happen. And if you are sharp, if you are ready for it, then it's just me or him.
Do you feel some of those moments the game actually slows down a little bit?
Yeah, I think it does. It does. Because it's like it's one moment on its own. So obviously I had moments against very good strikers when we came 1v1, and when there's a left-footed striker that he doesn't want to go to his right foot. So then you're gonna put in your mind, all right, he doesn't want to go to his right foot, so he wants to go to his left foot. But he's very good in his left foot. You have to make sure that if you set a trap, make sure the trap is very good in order to either put him off balance or block the shot. And I think it's nice. But what I definitely enjoy more is to prevent those situations from happening regardless.
Who are some of the attackers who are hardest to guard in that situation you just described?
I think that definitely the two-footed strikers. Like I just mentioned, obviously if someone is a very good left footer, but not as good as right in with his right foot. Obviously, that's a very difficult situation. Obviously, I can remember one moment where it was 2v1, so two strikers against Spurs, and I know that Son from Spurs was in behind me, and the midfielder was with the ball, and I thought in my head, he can't play it to Son because Son is left and right footed. So I had to make the decision to let then the guy on the ball take the shot with his weaker foot. And obviously it worked out well. Could also be a goal, but it worked out well. But that's also like the split second that you then think of. But so many good strikers out there. Obviously, we all know the Lionel Messi, we know Cristiano, of course, and these guys, they can finish with every bit they have. So, but yeah, it's fascinating. It's nice, but you try to avoid it by reading the situation. I think reading the situation is the most important thing.
What's up, folks? If you are enjoying this podcast or if you care about health, performance, fitness, you may really enjoy getting a Whoop. That's right. You can check out Whoop at whoop.com. It measures everything around sleep, recovery, strain, and you can now sign up for free for 30 days. So you'll literally get the high-performance wearable in the mail for free. You get to try it for 30 days, see whether you want to be a member, and that is just at whoop.com. Back to the guests.
When you first came to Liverpool, you had that game against Everton, and there was a lot of, I feel like, anticipation for that moment because at the time you had this enormous transfer fee. I think it was the largest at the time, £78 million. So there was sort of like a big expectation for you. And then you go out and you have a phenomenal game, don't you?
Yeah, it was an incredible week. Regardless, obviously I signed for the club, and when I obviously officially joined on the 1st of Jan, I know that the first game that I will be involved with is the Everton game, and obviously playing that derby means a lot for the fans, but obviously for me personally then as well. And I wasn't supposed to be starting that game. We did a session in the morning of the game, and I was with the subs. But one of our players, Dejan Lovren, he had little issues in his hamstring. So the manager didn't want to risk it, and he said in that morning, I'm gonna start. So then it's like, okay, let's go, let's get ready. Yeah, and I wasn't nervous at all. I was just excited because obviously I got what I wanted. I wanted to play. I wanted to come to Liverpool and be successful. And why not start the first game in the best way we could do? Obviously 1-0 up, draw 1-1. And then the corner came and I had it in, and eventually it was the best possible debut that I could imagine, and kickstart definitely my career at Liverpool.
Well, you mentioned the header. You've got a pretty phenomenal aerial game. Is that something that's kind of always come naturally to you with your size and your power, or is it something you really feel like you had to work at?
I worked on it a lot, of course. I think it's also positioning. I'm quite a tall guy, so that helps. But still, yeah, you have to make use of that height. But it's a combination of positioning, working on it a lot, and be dominant. Using your strength, your arms as well at times, and be dominant in both boxes.
So you have the successful start against Everton, and you have that first season where you guys almost win it all, if I'm not mistaken.
The first season I joined, it was 6 months. We obviously played the Champions League final in Kiev. We lost it, unfortunately. But the year after, we won the Champions League and we came 1 or 2 points short for the Premier League.
And that was 2019?
19, yeah.
And that was a good year for you personally.
Yeah.
Runner-up in the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Was that a disappointment, or were you proud to be right there? How do you think back on that?
Well, first and foremost, like you said, it was an amazing year.
Yeah.
It was a year that one of my big dreams for lifting the Champions League came true. I had personally had a fantastic year. We as a team had an amazing year. And to even be nominated for the Ballon d'Or, yeah, I would have never thought that when I was younger. But obviously being there and losing only on a couple of points eventually then feels a bit, but not that I was disappointed at all, because I was just so proud of myself, proud what we have achieved that year, and obviously becoming second behind Lionel Messi and just above Cristiano Ronaldo I don't think is a very bad thing. So
those are two good people to be sandwiched
exactly.
between.
And so it was a very, very proud moment that I will forever cherish.
You know, you've talked a lot about the important role that families played in your career and your life. What does it mean to be a good father today?
The most important thing, I think, obviously you have the football player Virgil van Dijk. What I really realize is the papa Virgil and the husband Virgil, and that's what life's about. You know, I think I really enjoy that. No matter how your day could be or whatever happened in the game or whatever, if you come home, that's what matters. And I really appreciate what they have been, you know, sacrificing for me as well, because that's not always too much appreciated, and I really appreciate everything of them.
4 kids, are they going to grow up to be footballers, or what are your expectations?
I think my eldest, obviously, who is here today with us, but I think she could be, if she wants to, because whatever my kids want, I think they should pursue it, and I think she's really, you know, sporty. She likes to play hockey. She likes other sports as well. She's very, very active when she comes and watches the games. And the rest, I've got obviously my little boy. Let's see. He's a left footer, so it will be interesting. But obviously, like, listen, whatever. I will always support them, and whatever they want to be, they can be.
So you wrapped up the Euro not that long ago.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between playing for your country versus playing for a Premier League team?
So obviously, like, with the country, like, you only, like, we meet up during the year maybe 5 or 6 times, if I'm correct. So when you see each other, you only be with each other for like 10 days. And it could obviously, you know, change every time in terms of the squad and players, and it's very dense you're such a short time together that everything has to be sort of put in one, you know, in a couple of days' time, in order to get, whether it is for the game ready or random stuff that you have to organize, you know, before a game, in terms of, I don't know, bonuses or whatever. So it's all very dense. So I would say that's the big difference. Obviously, at the club, at Liverpool, you are on a daily basis with each other. You see each other almost more than you see your own family. So it's a different kind of dynamic, but both of them are amazing to be part of. And obviously, everyone is speaking about the amount of games that we have at the moment, and that's really true. But we all became footballers as well to play the games. So for me to be playing on the highest level at Liverpool and to be playing on the highest level for Holland is an amazing feeling.
Do you feel any more pressure for one or the other?
No, because I feel like I put already the highest pressure on myself. And being the captain of both teams, you know, I will always be looked at as, you know, the one that always has to make sure that he plays a 10 by, you know, by any means. But that's what I expect from myself as well. I expect from myself to be always the best version of myself, on and off the pitch, and that's what my teammates also could expect from me. And I want to win, and that's what I'm going to show to my team and to the outside world, that I'm doing everything in my power to do.
Have you ever had times where you've doubted yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think the year when I came back from my knee injury, you know, there were difficult moments, because And also even before I came back, I think knowing that you have a knee injury, I think knee injury as a football player or any NFL player or whatever always puts a little bit of doubt in your mind, because it's a very complex injury that obviously nowadays technology and the doctors doing such a amazing job, but still it's how your body and your knee react, and your muscles around your whole knee and the rest of that's very important. And there's plenty of moments where I had some doubts in my mind, but at the moment and definitely over the years, those have definitely been gone.
You seem to have this sort of deep inner confidence and resolve. Do you feel like you've always had that throughout your career? Is it something it's just
I think
kind of grown with success?
Yeah, I think obviously experience helps, but I think what is the most important thing is if you don't trust yourself, or if you don't have confidence in yourself, then no one will. And that's definitely something I always believe in. You need to go into anything. So whether it's obviously for me as a football player, into a game that I'm gonna be the man, and I'm gonna be the best on the pitch. But you should have that with everything. If you're doing a project at school or something, you should go in there thinking, I'm gonna smash this. And if you don't do that, then it's not gonna work anyway. So I always had that feeling of you need to make sure that your own mind is already thinking, listen, I'm gonna rock this, and I keep a clean sheet today, or I'm gonna score today, or that's the most important thing.
Are there certain athletes that you've reached out to that you've learned a lot from? Could be in football or other sports.
Well, not reached out to. I think I definitely looked at athletes around the world, and still am. Whether it is obviously LeBron, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, obviously how he was, for example, during the Olympics, incredible. Mark Cavendish, to mention. But also in modern day football, I think for us, look at Cristiano, look at Lionel Messi, how to keep that hunger and look after themselves, and how they deal with the pressure, how they deal with setbacks, criticism, social media. There's so many things that you can learn from athletes at the top, and you never are too old to learn in anything. And that's my mindset always been. I don't think I'm, how would you say it, outlearned, or how do you want to call it? There's always things I want to learn and can learn, because I'm definitely nowhere near perfect, and no one is, but I see it in that way especially.
Well, a lot of those athletes share a real longevity in their sports, right? Which is becoming, I think, a trend over the last maybe 5 or 10 years. And you, of course, mentioned Cristiano, who I think has really demonstrated that combination of drive and longevity. Also, he's on Whoop. I think the two of you both being on Whoop have certainly helped us grow in the world of football. Why do you think Whoop's resonating in football, or more broadly right now?
Well, obviously, when I started Whoop anyway, I'm very fascinated about the output I do, whether it is sleep, obviously the strain, but also like I'm very much focused on when I'm doing other activities as well, to put it in Whoop as well, because it also then determines how I can recover better, sleep better. So it keeps me sort of aware of how to be better each and every day. So I think that's definitely the case. So obviously I see so many football players wearing it now, but even other sporters, like you guys know, of course. But it's just part of the process of wanting to be better. I think you're doing it because you want to be better. You want to improve yourself. And I'm not speaking only because of as a football player, but just as a normal human being that wants to live a healthy and good life, in my opinion. And I think Whoop is helping that massively. And also in terms of, we spoke about in the beginning about breathing exercises and stuff. I remember doing the breathing exercise to get alertness. just got dizzy in my head.
Where you do a long
I was doing
inhale
another
and
quick
short.
one. Yeah, exactly. I was like, whoa, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, but you know, when you start doing it and getting used to it, it's really helpful. It's really good, and you know, now Whoop got everything in the app that could help you. You know, whether it is recover or getting better or getting more alertness or anything's possible.
What do you track in your journal in the Whoop app? You know, some of those different modalities.
Not much, you know.
No.
Not much. No. Obviously, I put sauna in. I sometimes put medication. What else?
I find that sauna actually, on the whole, seems to be decreasing my recovery a little bit, just a little bit. But I like doing it so much from like a mental standpoint. You know, you mentioned before like the whole feeling of calm and stillness when you're competing. I think for me, doing some of that contrast therapy where you're like really hot and really cold, it's so uncomfortable. But if you get calm in the discomfort, then later the rest of the day feels easier.
Yeah, I thought about it as well in the beginning. I didn't like after a sauna session. I wouldn't go immediately into an ice bath, but now I've changed it. So now, for example, before the game that we played yesterday, we had like treatment and everything at the training ground. Then we went to the hotel, but I did a sauna session, ice bath, sauna session, and the ice bath. So I did double.
Oh wow!
And I was really calm and really relaxed. And then obviously in the hotel we just wind down and did a couple breathing exercises and had a nice sleep. Recovery wasn't great, by the way, but.
So you did all of that after the game?
That was before the game.
Oh, you did it before the game?
Day before the game.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And the breathing technique before sleep, what does that look like?
It's different ones. Obviously, I get the exercises from my, I won't say coach again, but from the
Your
person
life
that's with
guru.
me, but really like gets me into a state that I'm really, you know, relaxed.
Longer exhales.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the longer you exhale, the more parasympathetic it is.
That's the one.
Yeah. We're going to do some rapid fire questions. What is your go-to pregame meal?
I would take sweet potato, a bit of pasta, tiny bit of tomato sauce, and sometimes a chicken, but not all the time. So I don't really eat that much protein. Like we eat like 2.5 hours before the game, so I don't eat too much protein 2.5 hours before the game. But the day before, I would definitely eat some more protein than I would do on the match day.
What's the one part of your daily routine you can't go without?
Pre-activation.
What does that mean?
The exercises that I'm doing before the game. So that obviously single leg squat, wall sits. There are different exercises I'm always sticking to, and it definitely helps me and my body to be ready for the game.
Wakes your body up.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a day off.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one activity you have to do?
School run.
I like that. More stressful situation, taking a penalty or trying to get the kids to go to bed?
So, that's a very, taking a penalty.
Yeah. Did you do anything right before taking a penalty or a free kick, like any breathing or anything?
Yeah, I try to obviously get into a state where I'm calm.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy. It worked out twice well, and one time it didn't work out well against Argentina in the World Cup. But that's also part of
the
game.
experience. Yeah. Hardest attacker to defend?
At the moment or in my career?
Let's do both.
Okay.
At the moment, who you got?
At the moment, I would maybe go for... there are so many good ones, you know. I'm going to say Wow.
I feel like you're debating whether you want to give this person credit for being
No, not at all. I've got these questions plenty of time.
Yeah, of course.
And I've said a couple times, of all time I said Lionel Messi because he's very difficult to mark because he's just wandering around and all of a sudden he comes to life and he's so fast and he's so good. But in the league, I can say a couple. Obviously, I would say Holland. I would say Gabriel Jesus. I can say Kylian Mbappe. They're not always direct opponents, but very good players.
Defensive player you've learned the most from?
I would say Joel Matip has been a very good one that I've learned things from that were very helpful. Joe Gomez, Jose Fonte at Southampton, older player back then, and I was obviously coming through for the first time in the Premier League. So those three come to my mind at the moment.
Okay, lowest recovery ever on Whoop.
1%, of course.
1% club. What's the explanation?
At a nice party.
Party.
Yeah, partying. That was during the summer. Sometimes you have people wearing Whoop, by the way, and they think when they go party they take it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mind because I think being in the 1% club is part of the game as well.
I appreciate that. I respect it. And look, we're super grateful to have you on Whoop, man, and this has been a pleasure being with you.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Virgil for coming on the Whoop podcast. If you want to learn more about Whoop, check us out at whoop.com. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial. Get this wearable for free for 30 days. We also just came out with the new Virgil van Dijk band. He customized it and designed it. We now have it. That's at shop.whoop.com. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please leave a rating or review. Please subscribe to the Whoop podcast. You can check us out on social at Whoop, at Will Ahmed. And that's a wrap, folks. We'll catch you next week on the Whoop podcast. In the meantime, stay healthy and stay in the green.